Hi guys, how was Facebook tonight? Hope you're having a good night, and if you're not, you should because you're entitled to it. I'm having a great day. I didn't have a good sleep last night, I'm telling you. I've been like on this trend where I sleep really good one night and then the next night I have a hard time getting to sleep. I already suffer severe insomnia, so it's no big news to anybody that knows me. So I thought I'd get back on here and show you the progress of what I'm doing now. I'm adding the blue beads. And I started last night after posting my last YouTube video. So I didn't want to complete it until I showed you guys some of the progress, and then if you're following along, maybe this will help with some ideas. But remember how I told you about the beads when you sew them into the gem kind of thing? When you face these diagonal parts, you have to basically do the same thing, and then you just got to basically work the bead down. Okay, so now my phone is not focusing in from my angle. It looks blurry, but when I go upload the video, it might look different. So anyways, I was hoping to get this done tonight so I could start adding the hair clip part and sewing the edges on, and I didn't get around to that yet. See how one side looks very, very thin? See how it looks thin here, and then it looks thick, and then on this side it looks very thick? By rights, this is exactly how it was supposed to look all the way around. And that didn't happen. And like I said, this is not being sold to anybody. This is my own personal hair clip. So I'm not going to stress out over it, or, you know, any mistakes or flaws that are in it. It's mine anyway. So, but believe me, if I was planning to sell this, you have no idea. I rip my projects apart 50,000 times before I get it right. And this is why it's so discouraging at times. You live and learn as you go along, and you know from the mistakes what not to do and everything as you go along. But for me, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I'm pretty prone to making a lot of mistakes and doing it over again. So I haven't learned from anything. Sorry to say. But yeah, I wanted to show you some of the beadwork, how it's done, because look on this side, there's like two good rows on this side, and I don't think I'd be able to get maybe one and a half one and a half excuse me, because what I if I think correctly, look, I say 1.5, and when I mean 1.5 is that there's going to be blue beads facing sideways. So I'm just going to put this right here. See? So yeah, it's got enough room for one row of beads, but see, that's the mistake I've made. But believe me, if I was planning to sell this, I would have taken this all apart just to make sure that the measurements on each side is correct. And I do believe that even this here to here is not the right size. I think one angle is longer than the other, just a tad. But and like I said, it's only going on my head, so I can wear the imperfections, but there's ways of different kind of beading. You just got to find what you're comfortable with, because I know a lot of people, they throw a real big long line, and then as they're beading they're sewing, the beads down from one side to the other, to the other, to the other. And I don't do it that way. I tried. I did. On my formal tie, when I first started that out, the first part of it where it goes underneath the neck, I did that whole area, doing that kind of beading, and I could not get used to it. I tried, and it's faster. So when I bring, I put 4 beads down, and then where I want to come out is anywhere between the third and the fourth, but in between the beads, because when it lays, when you put your needle forward and you lean the thread over, it's got to be in an angle where it's going to fit comfortably in this area, like so that you can sew the whole thing down. I'll show you what I mean. Alrighty, so let me see. Okay, see how okay, so there it's like after the third bead, but when I bring it out, okay, I sew it out. I want to lean it forward, and when I lean it forward, it's like halfway through the third bead, and that's not going to go well. Let me see. Yeah, it's not going to go well, so I have to go to the second bead and sew it forward, and that's going to tie that down. That's the trick. So now it's locked in there. Now I'm ready for the next 4. Some people do like 5, some do 6. I do 4, and it's just because I don't like the looseness of the beads. You don't want it too loose. So I'm here at the it got tangled. Okay, so now in this angle, I mean in this scenario where part of the bead is out, but I'm not going to do anything. What I want to do is sew it all the way back up to here, and then put another blue bead here and do another row down, and then go as far as I can, and then fill in this gap right here. It's going to show me exactly what I'm going to need to do, but in order for me to do that, I have to go back. I have to go backwards. So do the same thing what I did earlier with the third bead. I'm going to go back with the second bead. And it came out somewhere around there, and that's okay. Don't want to lose your... Okay. You don't want to lose your area where the string comes out. You have to put the needle somewhere, like where the string is, your needle goes up above that string, so that when it goes down, this here area is going to go down with it. If it's too far back, it's going to pull the beads backwards, and you don't want that to happen. So, like here's the thread, and the needle's just before, just after. So if you look at every angle, the needle's is right before it, so that when the thread goes down, it lays down and it tightens that area. Now that I went through that area, I'm going to come back through here, and this will actually help lock everything in place. And you do the same thing what I taught you earlier just a little while ago. So, oh. And now oops, I went into a pink bead. Okay. This is gonna look pretty though. Once it's all done, I like it already. So, like I said, these pink beads are sewed into the gem. So, excuse me. I'm going to see what it looks like if I do it this way. Hopefully it'll work. Nope, it's not going to go. Okay, let me see if I can... See that how that angle? I'm not happy with that angle where the beads are coming out and around. Like this here's got a little indent curve. I'm not happy with that. So alright. And then when you take your needle out, like I showed you before, you don't want to put any stress out on the thread itself. So you straighten the needle out, and then you coach it through that hole again. You don't want to pull too hard, because the eye of the needle here, you don't want to break that either. Not while you got beading on the go. Alright. So, I was looking at my earlier video about I had a stroke Easter weekend, and I could see how hard I was really struggling to form a sentence at first, but once I got going, I was all right. It's really hard when you first like I had a mild stroke. I mean, not a mild, but a minor, or what they call mini stroke. And that to me was devastating. It was like, I never thought it was, like you really do have trouble thinking. And when they were asking me all kinds of questions, I couldn't put everything into words. It took me a few weeks to get back to normal from that. So now I want to come up underneath this bead, and so it's on an angle. The only thing is that if I put beads down, it's going to come out again. And I'm trying really hard to avoid that. In a way, what I should do is fill this, go up to this here part, fill this in, and come down with the bead, with the line of bead to come down and fill this area first. Just so that I could be very meticulous and careful of how I'm going to lay my beads this way. Because once this here area gets filled in, everything else will come smoothly. So in order for me to do that, to come up this way, I can continuously come up doing what I've been doing with the rest of them, and just sew blue beads into the gem. Like that. Okay. And then so there, I got that all filled in. And then I have to come back down this way because right here, oh, okay. There. So now I can start that one strand right here. I hope I'm doing the right thing. If I don't, then I'm going to be taking some beads off. But like I said, this is unedited version. It's going to be, you know, it's going to show you the struggle of you know, the makings of anything with beads. I mean, sometimes it could be a headache, sometimes it could be there you can get all kinds of good stuff coming from doing beadwork. It's very tranquil, it's therapeutic in some ways. I mean, especially when you have something on your mind and you just need time to yourself, kind of thing. Look at that. It's a good thing I did. There's only going to be a small gap, so there's going to be beads going sideways to fit in there, I think. Yeah, I just added someone on my YouTube channel. If you if you look at my subscribers, who I'm also subscribed to, there's this one channel. It's about stroke victims, and tonight he interviewed a friend of mine's daughter. She also had a stroke back in 2012. I can't believe it was that long ago. I remember when it happened. It didn't seem that long ago, but oh my gosh, it was, I haven't seen her face in a long time. And the best way I could describe what she used to look like was, she reminded me of Nelly Furtado with the pretty hazel eyes. She had pretty eyes, and she's a very good looking person. Her name is Serena Wagner, and her and her husband were on that show tonight, and you could see exactly where they took a piece of her skull out. And she was describing all the things that went wrong. The hospital they bring her to is not, like, I think, in my own opinion, they might not be all that experienced with, you know, stroke victims, or the kind of operation that they had to do with, because of the fact that the skull that they removed, what they usually do is they put it in the belly area so they could save the cells inside the skull so that they'd be able to fuse it later on. Well, they took it out and put it in the freezer. So all those cells that were on her, underneath her scalp, like they removed her scalp, part of her scalp, like 4 inches off from her scalp. And when you look at her, you can see exactly where the scalp is missing. Like part of her scalp is like slanted. It's amazing that she's even alive today, I swear. She says that she sleeps a lot. I wish I could. I wish there was something that would allow me to sleep. I always used to envy people that like they would be laying there. They lay down and within 2 seconds they're sleeping, and I'm like, geez, I wish I could do that. I have to wind down. Basically, it's a whole system with me. Procedure. What I got to do, I got to unwind down, basically, and it takes me a while to get to sleep. I've always had trouble sleeping since I was a kid, since I was a little girl, and when I first came back from Seattle in 2008, I was working on ships and everything, and I already have scoliosis, but when I was doing that job, I ended up hurting the upper part of my back, and it stumped my career. So I ended up coming back, and I didn't have I had a job when I came back here, but I was going through a bit of psychosis, and I couldn't figure out what the heck is wrong with me. So I went to the doctor, and they end up giving me a referral, an emergency referral to see a psychiatrist, because they said you might be going through psychosis from insomnia. And I didn't realize how bad or severe my insomnia was, because I lived with it my whole life. And then when I end up going in for a sleep study, they found out that within 21 days I only slept 14 hours. And they're like, you're lucky to be alive. You should be dead right now, because the way your body is, your organs should be shutting down. People with severe insomnia, they usually die in their sleep. And when I had that mild stroke, I couldn't sleep that night. I had a hard time getting to sleep, so my insomnia kind of saved me, basically. And they said that if you fell asleep that night and then you had this minor stroke, there's no telling if you would have woke up. And I'm locked inside of an apartment. I live alone. I only have a little dog, and usually I have a system for, like, if there's an emergency, I put my key right by the window in the kitchen, so that anybody, like, if anybody can get a hold of me just in case for emergency. And I didn't have the key up by the window, but then I started thinking, I'm like, geez, I said, if I fell asleep and not waking up, nobody would know. There could have been a great chance of me passing away, because the doctor said that while you were sleeping, the chances are the blood clot would have gotten thicker and bigger, and it could have been devastating. In other words, you could have, he credited a lot of things of what happened to me to my niece, because 4 days prior, this happened on Friday morning, and that Sunday morning beforehand, my niece came out, and she took me out to Halifax. She wanted to go places, and she's she's not really a fast walker. I was just having a hard time keeping up with her. And I was telling her, I'm trying not to let my ailments, I was already told I'm going to be going paralyzed. They gave me 15 years if I don't change my diet, if I don't start losing weight and exercising, because I have really bad scoliosis and I have degenerate arthritis. So and it shows in with my walking too as well. I had a hard time keeping up with my knees. So in a way, I felt like I was speed walking, and I was really having a difficult time keeping up with my knees, basically. And so my doctor said that he credited her, because what happened that day was that the walk the exercise from walking actually thinned out my blood, because there's a blockage somewhere, and he thinks that it would have the walk probably most likely dislodged the clot, and it came out the way it did, like a minor stroke. But if that walk didn't happen, there could have been a good chance that it would have built up, and there would have been a devastating stroke after that. So thank goodness for stuff, because I thank my lucky stars. I went and exercised today. I didn't sleep well last night at all, and I woke up, like, I didn't get to sleep until like after 9 o'clock this morning, and then I ended up waking up around 2, so I didn't get a long hour's sleep. Excuse me. So yeah, so YouTube was off earlier. I was noticing my every time I went on my page, it's saying that all my videos were set on private. If you wanted to go public, to go into settings, it was telling me to go into settings to set my privacy to public, and I'm like, that's already been like that. Why is it on private? And so I finally clued in, and I thought, maybe YouTube is not working today. I don't like where that's sitting. If you're not happy with it right away, listen to your instinct, because it'll show out in your beadwork. Sorry for bumping the stoop around. You kind of want to pop up inside underneath the blue beads, so that if you're too far out, like if I was in between here or something, that it would have pulled the beads inward like that, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why I bring it right back out, and it's like I gotta start over. Yeah, when I first started doing my beadwork, no one taught me nothing. I had to figure everything out myself, and then as I got older, I had all these ideas that I want to do, and like I said, I tear my projects over and over and over again until I get it right. And that's why it takes me a long time. I see people out there that are so good, but everybody has to find their own way of beading. Like, I could show you some things that might be helpful, but it's not until you actually give it a try yourself. And it's helpful when you're around other people, when other people know what they're doing and stuff. That's for sure. I didn't have that. When I first started, I started off with a barrette, like what I'm doing, but they were circular. And I put rabbit fur down, and then I put beads on top of that and made it look really pretty, and I sold them for $15. If I only knew what they were really worth. And they were my very first beadwork. And you know what? That's the weird thing is, I've been doing a lot of beadwork in the last 5 years, and I did a lot of beadwork way back when I first started, over 20 some odd years ago, and not one person had showed off the beadwork I had made. And I'm like, what the heck? They don't really like my beadwork? And even still to this day, the only one that shows off my beadwork is my sister. My sister and my niece. They're the only two. Okay, that's right on the third, but it's not going to go well. I might have enough room for one more bead in there. Let's find out. Yeah. I'm looking at size beads because I don't want it too thick. And with glass beads, they are all mostly all the same size, but on occasion you'll find a very skinny one. So that's why you'll see beads on the side, because they're usually very skinny. Already 31 minutes? Holy. Alright, so it's going to take me, I say, about maybe an hour to upload my video, but I have to make sure that I got enough battery juice to do it, so I might have to charge up my phone a little before uploading this. And there. I don't know if I could put one bead in there. There. Perfect. I don't know if that's gonna go good. Like I said, if you don't know, listen to your instincts. I might have to put another bead right here. I'm making all kinds of little holes. No. I still feel like another. No. That's not going to go well. So I'm going to leave it right here and continue this tomorrow. I got to upload this video. So you have yourselves a good night. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.